Inmates here have no say in what they do. They do as they're told.
Guards against inmates. The guards practice 4 times a week.
That inmate on the bus that got stuck in the neck?
He also killed 11 fellow inmates, incited 3 riots, and escaped twice.
Remind them, the inmates that is, well, that they're in prison.
I leave him out there with the other inmates.
Composition of female inmates in federal prison.
I'd like you to try to convince the other inmates that you were mistaken. That shouldn't be too hard to sell around here. Will you do that?
Have inmate councils. Inmates here have no say in what they do. They do as they're told. You're not permitted to have newspapers or magazines.
But a game I wish we had never played. Guards against inmates. The guards practice 4 times a week. Our team was picked the Monday before the game.
Don't ask. Is that who you look in the back?
That inmate on the bus that got stuck in the neck? He's in critical condition. If he dies, you're going down for
Himself inside, earned 2 degrees, including his Juris Doctor. He also killed 11 fellow inmates, incited 3 riots, and escaped twice. Likes to brag that he killed more men than cancer.
Might I suggest you refrain from playing any more tunes that remind them, the inmates that is, well, that they're in prison.
You think they forgot?
I told him the only way that Borden's going to disappear is if I leave him out there with the other inmates.
He spreads his money around. You don't have any. The composition of female inmates in federal prison, they did not commit financial crimes. They're drug dealers.
Attention all inmates, transport to cross-port, maximum security Newton contain.
Lay out the string, you understand? Lieutenant Gilman? Yes. I'd like you to try to convince the other inmates that you were mistaken. That shouldn't be too hard to sell around here. Will you do that?
Oh, yes, sir.
What could have caused the unexpected reaction of the inmate?
At the end of the month's labor, every month, 60 inmates were selected. They were picked out to be sent from the satellite camp back.
We don't help them. They don't help us.
The inmates, your Jensen Ames, new grease monkey.
Nobody will know you're Frank except us on the team and a handful.
Eckford has a sanitarium in Vermont, I believe. Probably one of those places with a high wire fence and yowling inmates.
Well, now, I wouldn't want anyone to have that mistaken notion.
Hanging tree.
Yeah. Last hanging was in 38. They left the tree to taunt the inmates. Google Maps says it's an 8-hour drive. We should...
If you're visiting an inmate in the maximum security wing...
He told me this is where they keep the worst ones. Guys even the other inmates are scared of.
Did Noyce give you anything, mate?
This makes my 4th.
This makes your 4th time. 4 times you've testified for the prosecution against a fellow inmate.
Why don't you understand? Do you know the average length of time an inmate would spend in solitary? 19 days. 19 days.
I understand 19.
Seems our man Katie had a job in the kitchen.
Right.
There's another inmate working in there with him. He was an officer in the SOB.
Right.
Hated Katie's.
Here for an inmate pickup? Vadim Nijinsky. You ready?
What's with all the school kids going back and forth all the time?
You're not an inmate. You're free to go in and out.
What, they live here?
Yeah.
Say it straight, Molin.
Well, you know how inmates are, sir. When a cellmate leaves...
Attention inmates! Locked down in 5 minutes! And don't try to shoot shit!
Sorry for this man.
Oh, you're getting ahead of the story.
Story of how a fellow inmate became a crippled one-eyed half-wit so you could find God.
Whoa.
Well, isn't...
Teach you what commitment is. I'll put you in 8x9 and have you fucked in the ass by every inmate in the state of Louisiana. And that's the rest of your life. Give me a name.
Call me Dwight.
They killed a shitload of inmates and guards.
3 inmates, 5 guards, 1 shrink, all in 1 year's time. Open that goddamn gate.
Meanwhile, the Jewish soldier, ex-barber, veteran of the World War, suffered a loss of memory and remained an inmate of the Soldiers' Hospital for many years. He was ignorant of the profound change that had come over Tomania.
To the FBI. They showed that picture to the inmates of jails and prisons, to men with a wide acquaintance among the cat burglars and the...
Even that was a triumph.
The guards marveled at the brilliance of his brushwork. Even his fellow inmates couldn't believe their eyes. And the governor of the prison...
Madhouse, Jane. The inmates are caged and baited like beasts. I spare to that.
Concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they...
The prison has not been built that can hold me, Virgil tells another inmate, and I'll get out of this one if it means spending my entire life here.
In rehabilitation, our inmates, properly supervised, will be put to work outside these walls, performing...
I was just thinking how wonderful it was when the inmates weren't allowed to talk in here. Not allowed to talk.
1978, I was asked to give a talk to the inmates, look at some of their work.
You honestly find the students in this school to be treated like inmates in a prison?
No.
All T-block inmates, 15 minutes.
Lord knows how long they've been sitting there. I've been living off an inmate's diet and had all these cones sitting right underneath a bunch of feed sacks.
Right. You've murdered. You're worse than the worst inmates of this prison. You're the psychopath here, not they.
You have no legal right to raise canaries at all. I know. Rule 60 of the Federal Bureau of Prisons Manual. An inmate cannot be permitted to operate a business, no matter how legitimate, while in prison.
The further down one goes in this place, the more monstrous the inmates become. Probably the same in hell. Until you reach the last circle. The one without...
It is a great game.
It looks like an insane asylum was opened up and all the inmates were allowed to create a sport.
That is just not true, okay? 1 billion people play.
Who?
But the inmates, including me.
Из Римковской тюрьмы сегодня сбежали 2 заключенных.
I'll chew that food when I have to. Right now, I want to hear about this new inmate, aside from how big he is, okay? Monstrous big.
I don't think you get it, Greg. You know when prison guards learn the most about their inmate population? During rec time in the yard. I'm sure Prudence is in her office.
I'm trying to find out what happened to an inmate, a Santos.
I can't give out that information.
It tells us that music stirs up emotion. Emotion that can produce an unexpected reaction in the inmate.
All right. Do you have any objection to my asking?
Of the bed, not the inside of the inmate, the inside of the bed.
To tell the truth, we are completely mad. We're inmates of a Bengali psychiatric institution, and we escaped by making this skin out of...
May I offer any of you inmates a plate of mush? No?
Prison guard who pretended to be possessed outside your cell. Your reputation and the inmates' fear did the rest. Others required more elaborate...
The journey to Dachau. Hundreds of inmates were used as human guinea pigs for atrocious